Spirit Island Sunday, Thunderspeaker for 2. Good day, my name is Joe Gerba. Today, for Spirit Island Sunday, we'll be talking about Thunderspeaker, aka what I like to call the Hand Sympathizer. Now I know, don't judge me on that one, but that's just kind of how I think about this spirit, because everything they do is centralized around the Dahan. Their special rule is when a Dahan is moved or pushed, you can also move a presence along with it. So anytime something is gathered or pushed to a land, you can move your presence along. So that can really get your presence where you need to be. Some of these cards require you to have the presence on a spot. So while you move Dahan, it's just a way to be mobile. However, it also has a downside, so the sworn to victory. So for each Dahan destroyed by invaders, you have to destroy one presence within a range of 1. So if the Dahan gets destroyed by any means on the ravage, you're gonna lose presence around it. So you're really gonna, over the course of the game, you will lose presence just by losing Dahan. So you really have to be cognizant of your placing throughout the game, moving Dahan when you can, moving your presence along with them. So it's it's a really interesting kind of push-pull mechanic. It's neat, but you may end the game with only a few presence on the board. Now let's talk about the growth options. I really like this kind of style. You can, the first option will be reclaim your cards. So any cards you played, you get them back. Gain 2 power cards. Now this is really neat. You can, gain your minor power like you want, or you can gain a minor and a major power. You can gain 2 major powers at the end of the game if you're really, fishing for that one final blow. But I really like gaining 2 powers when you reclaim cards. And the next one is adding 2 presence to the board. I love adding presence to the board, so anytime I can add 2, I'm probably going to do it. You have to add it to a land with the Dahan. So once again, you're going to want to make sure you have Dahan on the board and not lose too many of them. And you want to add those presence around. The last one is just add a presence in a land with a Dahan or not, and gain 4 energy. Now, you may look at this last option and say, I probably won't do that because I'll just be swapping between the first 2, gaining power cards, putting 2 presence out on the board. However, as I'm about to talk about in a second, your energy per turn maxes out at 3. So this last option of getting 4 energy, you may use just to bank up some energy for later turns. So now let's look at the presence track. The top row is kind of interesting. You start at 1 and you eventually get to 3. So your max energy per turn you're going to have is 3. However, as you put these presents on the board, you're going to gain different elements. So these elements will really be used for your innate powers later, in the game, and especially to subsidize those where you may not have the energy to play the cards later in the game. Card plays, you'll start at 1, eventually go to 4, and when you get the 4th presence on that bottom track, you can reclaim 1. I love reclaiming 1 because if there's a card every turn that I know is just going to help, say there's one land that's going to need help every turn, I can just use that reclaim 1 and make sure that land either stays locked down, or you just have a nice card in your hand that really flows with the game and just give you a lot of options. So I like this reclaim 1 space after you've got enough presence out on the board. So let's talk about the innate powers. You do get 2 of them. The first one is gather the warriors. It can be fast if you have 2 feathers, I believe they are. We call them chili peppers because they look a little bit more like chili peppers than feathers. But it can be fast if you have 4 of that element. And then if you have a beast, icon as well, you can gather up to 1 Dahan purple essence you have, and then push. So this is really interesting, and you need to pay attention to which elements you have and what you'll be able to do and the target land. So this is kind of a tough power to fully wrap your mind around at the beginning. You know, once you get it, one away from your presence, you pick a spot, and for each purple you have, you can gather a Dahan, and then after that, then you can push. So what's nice about that is your Dahan can almost move 2 spaces. Say you have, 2 purple, 2 suns, you can gather 2, and then you'll be able to push them 2. So that's just a way that you can get Dahan from one side of the board to the other as fast as you can. It is a slow power unless you have 4 purple, which is kind of hard to get. The other powers, kind of the same thing when it comes as this power may be fast with 4 purple, but it needs to be on a present space of yours. And this one's really interesting, where you can just destroy a town for every 2 Dahan. So, and then the big power, once you play 4 cards, or once you've unlocked enough, you can play 3 cards to do it. You can destroy a city with every 3 Dahan. So it can really be a bomb later in the game to move those Dahan and then crush it if you've played enough of these elements. So your elements that you gather from your power cards are really going to affect this last, the Lead the Furious Assault, because you're really going to want to destroy those cities and towns, when you can with the innate power. So let's talk about the 4 starting cards for Thunderspeaker. The first one we have is Voice of Thunder. 1 away from a spirit as a slow power. You can push 4 Dahan. You have to choose one spot, which is kind of interesting, but it's a mass Dahan move, which is really nice for 0. And it lets you be a little bit mobile. Now you'll have to have some forethought with this. Make sure the Dahan is they're living, and see where you actually need to push them, and if you can use that in conjunction with your Lead the Furious Assault near the end of the game. If you don't want to push, and you do have an option just for 2 fear. So just another option on the card. You may not use the 2 fear too much. However, later in the game where you really need to start revealing those fear cards and you can get terror level 3, this may be just an extra little fear bomb for you. So next card we can talk about is Words of Warning. This is kind of an interesting card. I really like this card. 1 away from a presence, you have to target a land with a Dahan, and it's a fast power for 1. The first thing is defend 3. So you don't have a whole lot of defense in your cards, but this is a defend 3. Now this defend 3, remember, is a little nice because it's defend 3 from the land and defend 3 for the Dahan too. During Ravage, the Dahan deal damage at the same time that the invaders do with this card. So if you have 2 Dahan here and they had a town and a settler and they were going to Ravage, defend 3, you protected the land from the blight, from those 3 damage, and the Dahan also take these. So any defense with Dahan, you can protect them, because remember, if you lose one Dahan, even if it's 1 space away from one of your presences, you're going to lose that presence after the Ravage. So this can be a great just defense card, kind of one of the bread and butters near the early to mid game. You'll definitely be using this card quite a bit. The third card is going to be Sudden Ambush. This is also one of my favorite cards, with the caveat that it does cost 2. So it's a fast power with a range of 1. So 1 away. There's no stipulations on this one. You can gather 1 Dahan, and then each Dahan destroys a settler. So before they get to build, you can plink off some of these settlers, or later in the game, if there's 2 settlers on a land and you already had a hand there, you could gather one and plink them off. However, it is just a gather one, but remember you can also move some of your spirits around using this, getting rid of a settler. The problem is it costs you 2 on an already energy starved spirit. So the last card, Manifestation of Power and Glory. This is your bomb card. This is your mid to end game. I'm gonna blow up this settlement that the invaders have created with cities and towns. It's a slow power for 3, so you're not gonna have 3 energy for a little while unless you have banked it up. And you need to target a land with one of your presence on there. And remember, you can, move all your presences around before you use this card. So hopefully you use this in conjunction with some of your other ones. 1 fear, minimal. But each hand deals damage equal to the number of presence in the target land. So if you had 2 presence in a land with 2 hand, that would be 4 damage. That's a lot of damage, and if you can really maneuver at the end of the game, get 3 presence and multiple to hand, you can really make a bomb, on there. So I like this card's kind of theme. You're working with the hand, and the manifestation of power and glory is everyone's going in, everyone's going at it, and you're just crushing one of these lands. So really good power that you probably won't get to play until to its most effectiveness late to mid game. So this spirit is pretty interesting, good, bad, or otherwise. This spirit is interesting. As you move to hand, your presence will be moving around the board. You have a lot of different growth options. You may have a lot of just power cards. Now in the power cards you choose, you're really going to be wanting to maximize your innate powers down here. It has a pretty neat growth option where you can really put 2 out a turn for the first couple turns. However, you really need to make sure the hand on the board don't die. So the words of warning, the one that defends 3 with a land with the hand, is going to be kind of your bread and butter to make sure the hand don't die. Because remember, if they die, you lose a presence, and that can be pretty detrimental down the way. But you'll be moving your presence around the board. The presence track is kind of odd because the top track, it's just that energy track. Maxing out at 3 energy is pretty low. You're not going to be doing a whole lot of major powers anytime soon. Maybe near the end of the game, you can add a presence, gain 4 energy, and just pray that you're going to draw, a nice major power. But most of the game, you're going to be operating with 2 energy per turn. So when you pick those cards, you really need to be trying to get those 0s, maybe 1s, to maximize your card plays. The reclaim one is neat. You can reclaim a 0 almost every turn just to make sure you have enough card plays. Every time I play Thunderspeaker, I am energy starved like no other. Probably because I choose the middle growth a little bit too much, but I like getting presence on the board. I like having the options and really getting it on the board, spreading the presence, trying to unveil these different elements, so that later in the game I'll have these innate elements to be able to use them every turn. I like Thunderspeaker, but this is a finesse spirit. You're really going to be, with the hand, and you need to be one with them. Anything that can add to hand to the board is great. Anytime you can see one of those cards that can add more, awesome. But I kind of went over most things. You're going to have trouble taking out those big settlements, as most people are. You don't have a whole lot of defense. Your offense is really built in to to the hand. You don't have any really direct damage spells or powers until you get a Lead the Furious Assault, which this is a fantastic way to get rid of towns and cities once you can have the hand, and can be a fast power really late in the game, but 4 purple elements is kind of tough. But once you unveil the top energy, you'll be able to do this more often, be plinking off these cities, you know. And anytime there's a settler or settler town combo, and you can pick off a town before it gets to Ravage, you can pick off the town, and then the hand can take the rest out. So this is a really finesse spirit. I like this spirit. I will never say no to this spirit, but you really need to be in conjunction with the other person, as is this game. You know, I every time I look at a spirit, I say, well, it kind of needs the other spirit to help out. Well, everybody needs to help out this island. So I really like this spirit. It's fun, it's interesting, it's engaging. The energy production's very low, but once you get up to 3 card plays, it can really be fun and interesting how you're going to manipulate the board. So a lot of control, a lot of hand management, and I really do like this spirit. So hopefully you guys found this review helpful, and until next time.